It's
Go ahead.
no, but I do Ben Still's show,
I do the Monday night show.
and
This is
and,
neither.
and this is neither. Crap.
Okay, rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
Oh, man. I paper. So
Okay.
I lost. Does that mean, wait,
Wait,
does that mean I take it, or does
you
that mean
win
I
or
lose?
do you have to do the? Now I'm flustered. Just do the opening and we'll go.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. This is weird. I don't know what to do. It's not Monday, and it's not like late. It's early, so this is gonna be good. If you couldn't tell by the name of the title on the video, we're gonna be talking music tonight. We've got a great idea. John said, let's talk 2000s. Let's talk about the music from the 2000s. We're gonna hit the hits. We're going to hit the ballads. We're going to add some cocktail dinner flavor. And we're also going to add in those songs that we wish we never had to play again. That might be on another list, but they still fit.
And that was the interesting list to start compiling. And when we get to that, I'll share. We'll talk more about that. But yeah, they wish I never had to play again songs. So
I will say this. Well, we'll talk more when we get there. Yeah.
So we're going to be looking tonight from going from the year 2000 to 2009. And for those of you who were DJing during that particular time, this was a somewhat more difficult time in some aspects because we came out of the end of the 90s. We had this little bump of there was a few songs that came out that were kind of danceable, and in the early 2000s, there just didn't seem to be any really big bangers that were hitting airplay. You look in the early thing, the top 10 from the 2000, there really wasn't a lot that we are using today. A couple, but there wasn't a year that you're like, oh my gosh, there was a huge hit. I think we got to find a huge hit that we still hit still using today. We've got to jump into the mid 2000s. To really find something in that 2004 or 2005 range, because that 2000, 2001, 2003 just really didn't have it.
See, and I disagree and we talked about this a little bit, but there are 3 songs on my list. 3 songs that were all, I want to say 2001, 2002, at the latest 2003. So that out of all of mine, probably are like, yeah, these are still being, not all of them, but a good chunk of them are being used at every event still.
Oh, this will be interesting. This will be very interesting. So where do we want to start? Do we want to start? Oh, I should start the chat. Pull the chat thing up too. Well, where do we want to start? Where do we want to jump in?
I say we get the slow stuff out of the way.
Okay, let's get the slow stuff out of the way. This is the one, because I am the romantic person I am. I have 73 picks on this part of the chart.
There were 73 slow songs in 2000 to 2009.
Yeah,
I struggled with this part,
and this is where some of the forgotten hits that we're going to talk about in the next show. This is actually where some of those have come in. They were songs that charted, but people just really didn't. They don't request the songs, but when you play them, they're like, oh, I remember that song. And that's where I think it came. There's probably 3 or 4 of those songs that are on my list here. I think I only have like 8 or 10 or whatever it is. So.
What I found very interesting about this time period with reference to the ballads, when I looked back at and I was looking through specifically 2000s and looking at the slow songs, there was a lot of slow songs, but they were not love songs.
Yep.
Like they're not ones that I would ever want to play at a wedding because they were about a breakup or they were about an extramarital affair or things that I'm going, man, there was some slow, but it's not power ballads. We'll call it that.
And
so John,
making reference to Hinder on that particular of the cheating relationship issue type songs. I mean, there were quite a few during that time. So you mentioned country there. If you go and check out the charts during the 2000s, there's a lot of country crossover, specifically in the slow ballad area. During this time, Faith Hill came across, and there's a couple of tunes of hers that were in there that were kind of that slower tempo. I didn't have any of those in my Probably the closest one to that would have been Breathe. That would have almost made my slow chart, but it's just a little bit almost too much of a power ballad from her, so I didn't include that one. But one of the most the song that was used at weddings, and it was huge and it's still huge today, from Lone Star, came out, I believe, in that 2001, 2002, maybe even 2000, somewhere in that ballpark. 2000 is when it charted. Lone Star's Amazed was one of the big ones, and it still is today for ballads.
Well, I didn't have them because I went by when they were released, so I didn't look at charting. But I would say since we're gonna go over the heavy hitters first, the one that ranks up there from 2000 2009, also from country, Rascal Flatts, Bless the Broken Road.
Oh yeah.
That just, that is one of those that is still requested oftentimes as the first dance, as we got to make sure this is thrown in at some point during the night. Definitely still there.
For sure. So staying in the country, as long as we're there, Leanne Womack had "I Hope You Dance," which is actually a very nice song to play at a wedding. Good song, a decent message with this song. Music video is maybe showing a little more cleavage than a person would feel comfortable for in some weddings, because I did a wedding where I wasn't paying attention, played the video, and I had the bride come up and say, "Could you turn that off?" And I was like horrified that I didn't even think about that. So
yeah, ignore the chat. So since we're talking about country, another big one, Big and Rich, Lost in This Moment. I would say probably their second biggest song that I remember from them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was
it's a good wedding song.
Great wedding song. And then if you do video, it's a great wedding video, because it is all about weddings in that one. So let's just stick with the country.
Sure.
As long as we're there. Alan Jackson came up with "Remember When" during this particular period of time, which is a great thinking, kind of a country version of. Now I just lost train of thought. The one where he's singing about just like his dad and Cats in the Cradle. To a point, there's a lot of similarities in that, as far as it's that kind of a remember when, and things were so, and you're looking back and all those memories. And I've had people. I would
like to use that one for an anniversary dance.
Yeah, definitely.
When they were wanting something a little bit on a newer end. Had that cross-generational.
My only concern with that is an anniversary dance. Is there's that one line in there where he's that it was his first time and her first time, and then they cried after having their. And it's like, okay, so that line is a little uncomfortable sometimes, depending upon who your crowd is. But beyond that, it's a great song. It's just like this little phraseology. So that's usually where I go, everybody put your hands in the air, put your hands in. Okay, maybe not.
I've got one other country one here. Brad Paisley, She's Everything.
Oh, okay.
Another one. Then also came out on some charts, but I feel like She's Everything had a little bit more staying power than did.
Excellent. That was pretty much wrapping up my country. I've got a few more, one of which was kind of a border somewhere between a slow song, but most likely a cocktail. But I'm going to put it here because I have had people that wanted this for their first dance. Savage Garden's "I Knew I Loved You." It was actually used as a first dance for probably 3 or 4 weddings during that era when it came out. It's almost a little fast feeling for a first dance. It would almost kind of go to a cocktail type time, but good tune. It just doesn't have a really distinct "here's where it goes" type of song. Yeah.
I have. I'm gonna steal another big one here. Train, Marry Me. I was surprised for some reason. I was thinking that was after 2009, but when I went back, it was showing up in the unless somehow I had it mismarked. But that one definitely still a lot of play. Ceremonies is still huge.
I'm not even sure. Yeah. I'm just gonna the curious sake. Yeah, 2009. I would have guessed it was a little later than that too, but Yeah, that would definitely be one that would be on the charts. So there were a couple of tunes that came out that are kind of some of those flashback that's like, oh, I remember that song, but people won't request those. I'll hang on to those for a second. Probably the last semi power ballad or what have you that I've got here, Kelly Clarkson's "A Moment Like This," that had it wasn't so, it was at a wedding. It was used there at weddings, but it was for school dances. It was like proms for about 5 years in a row. And I still, in 2018, both of the proms that I did, both had that on the request list. So that would, when we get into songs that have a staying power, kind of that's interesting staying power, I would put this one kind of in that category, especially with kids. I don't know if it was something that, at our prom, honey, we had this song played and it was such a magical moment. You should ask the DJ to play that at your prom. Yeah, I don't know if it's that kind of a thing, because, if it was early 2000s, it would almost be that.
It could be. I'm also thinking it's, you have American Idol, you have them watching it with the family when they were young, seeing it within that frame of mind. I almost wonder if there's more to that.
Could be.
Than there is.
Could be. My theories are usually pretty much hash anyway. So,
because it would have been a moment like this was like
2002, 2000. Yeah, 2002 is when it was released. So that would have that would put it. If you have again, my math, a 16-year-old, 17-year-old. Yeah. So, okay, good. Could have been.
Okay. All right. So they weren't watching it unless they were absorbing it while being a newborn.
At school, they were. Yeah, at school dance, we weren't watching it.
I have two on here that are I feel are kind of making a resurgence.
Oh, good.
Of sorts. Christina Aguilera, "Beautiful." Mm-hmm. Just some of her ballads are starting to come back around in popularity, and then this one I don't think it ever really fully caught on. Or at least I wasn't exposed to it, but more recently I've seen it popping up on some request lists. Adele, "Make You Feel My Love."
Oh,
so kind of one of the surprise ones. One that was like, I don't remember even having it on my radar at all when it was first coming out. But like I said, it's coming back in popularity for at least around where I'm at.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I wonder, obviously it's because of her popularity, but I've heard this song on it's getting airplay on the Adult Contemporaries. The streaming Adult Contemporary. That's where I've heard. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even known it existed by her doing it. Because I listen, it's like, gosh, that sounds like Adele doing that song. So, just gonna in kind of in rapid succession, some of those throwbacks that are like, oh, I remember that song. Swear It Again, Westlife was a ballad that was was a prom or a high school ballad that went really, really well. Never Had a Dream Come True from S Club 7 was another like that. You're Beautiful from James Blunt and Elliot Yaman, Wait for You. Those were all songs that are that can, if you have the kids who are in school during that era, they're songs that they'll be like, oh yeah, I haven't heard that since junior high. Yeah, that's what junior high was all about. When the DJ had to play a slow song every 4 songs, and then, okay, boys on one side, girls on the other, snowball. Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm sharing too much of how we do dances in Minnesota.
It's all right. I heard you all just stood in different rooms to begin with.
We pretty much do, yeah. So we don't want to get too close because there was cooties. There were cooties.
That was it for my list. Did you want to move on to?
I'm good. Yep, I'm good. I was just checking a couple of messages here that had popped over. I was making sure. 98 Degrees, I Do Cherish You. That's a good tune, and it would have been there. Blessed Broken Road was used there. Hinder was a great break of music. Yeah, Hinder definitely was that. Country, and there were quite a few country hits during this decade that made the crossover into pop, and there were quite a few that did very, very well and still are doing well today from the country area. And we didn't do a country list from this decade, but that's another show for another night. Okay, so do we have Dinner and Cocktail, our more upbeat things, and then we have our if I never have to play them again, I'll be a happy person songs.
and then we'll finish up with our hits.
The big hits are the last then.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We gotta say the big hits for the last.
Okay, so that'll be that. So then we go to cocktail and dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. This one I didn't put as many in there because there's just so many potential possibilities. Because this era had so much of these kind of rock bands that played at that mid tempo that could have been utilized. It's like the '90s kind of spilled over into the 2000s with that with the we've already talked about Hinder and Creed and Vertical Horizon and oh my gosh, there's so many Puddle of Mud. I mean, a lot of these could be utilized during that time frame.
So do you want to start it off, or you want me to start off?
I'll start off. Now, some of these may not be the most wedding appropriate songs, but they're kind of fun to play anyway. So there might be. But the one that I kind of like, because there's the people who remember the older version and the newer, is "Drift Away" from Uncle Kracker. It's not that super fast or anything to that effect, but you're appealing to multiple generations.
Nice. So I didn't quite go full midstream here on some of these, but Lifehouse, You and Me.
Yep.
So that was another one that kind of was in there. I'll tell you what, do you want to just hit your list and then I'll go back whatever I have left?
Well, we can. Yeah, that's fine. So a couple of others. I'm Yours from Jason Mraz was there. Michael Bublé had a couple of tunes. The one that I prefer to go to because everyone knows his big ones. I Haven't Met You Yet is one that I would prefer to go to. Bruno Mars was coming onto the scene, and one of his early songs, "Just the Way You Are," came in during that time frame. Vanessa Carlton, for some reason I just like her. I like her music, and she had 1,000 Miles. That was one of her big hit during this era. I don't know, I just kind of like the song just kind of clicks. And then one that's probably not appropriate, but it's one I really, really like, and it's all because of those darn little chipmunks, was Daniel Powter's "Bad Day." And it's something that you play and people sing along to it, even though it's probably not the most wedding appropriate. They'll sing along to it during that cocktail time.
Of course. Gotta have those if they're gonna sing along. Speaking of singing along, Plain White Tees, "Hey There Delilah," was another one. I had Kelly Clarkson, "A Moment Like This," put into this category, more so than the other one. Norah Jones, "Come Away With Me." If you're wanting to kind of kick it in gear a little bit, this one probably almost borders onto this could be a dancing song.
Okay.
I've had it requested sometimes for that. The Darkness, "I Believe in a Thing Called Love." Going slower, U2, "Beautiful Day." Finger 11, "One Thing." And then I've got one on here from the country just because when I was going through and I saw it, I would not say this is like one that had staying power, but this is one that if you have the right crowd, you could just like make them laugh. Brad Paisley, "Alcohol." Just because, especially, I mean, we're talking cocktail hour here. You play alcohol. It's all about different things that alcohol has made you do. And
I don't think I've ever played that song. I know it exists, but I don't think I've ever played it.
I think I played it like a handful of times, maybe. But when I saw it on my list, I was scrolling through, I was like, oh yeah. And actually, when it was on one of the charting lists that I found on the internet too, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's have some fun.
Excellent. So yeah, there's a ton of great stuff that came out during this era. It would really depend on the guests or the clients and what you were trying to appease and keep happy. Because if you've got the right age group, which is really, what would we say, during the time frame when they would have been in that teenage years. So if they would be, that was roughly 20 years or 15 years ago. Let's put 15. And they would have been 15. So if you've got people who are from 25 to probably 40, this era is going to be something that they'll have fond memories of, unless they were sitting in a corner because the girls had cooties.
Well, so we know where John stood. No, I agree. There's so and cocktail and dinner has so many possibilities out there. I mean, that exactly what you're saying. Like you could literally pick a bunch of random obscure stuff that, or I shouldn't say obscure, but stuff you haven't really played in a while, from that genre or from that era, and you're gonna have that. Oh, I remember that one. Oh, I remember that one.
Yep.
Like, haven't heard that in forever. And I think that's why when we get into this, the never want to play again songs, I did not have as much difficulty with that. Or I should say I did not have, I had more difficulty with that because I feel like it's been a while since I played, because they're more new. Like, they're new, but they're not new, that I wasn't as sick of them as obviously the newer stuff, or even the stuff sometimes from the 80s and 90s, because I've been playing that for how long. And I had a break.
I get that. I get that. I still found things that I found distasteful.
Oh, I still have a list of about 6, but it was more difficult with that one.
Well, since we're right on the step of that. Let's just go through the door.
All right.
Now, I started making a list of songs, and I ended up changing it slightly because I made my list and I had pretty much a list from one artist. And I thought to myself, well, let's just go by artists because there's a few artists there in this decade. So my list would have been all Mariah Carey to start with, because I'm just not a fan of Mariah Carey. There's only one Mariah Carey song I can actually like appreciate, and that's her Christmas song. And the only reason I can appreciate that one is because it is kind of a upbeat thing. And anyone who can make money off that thing year after year after year, just the business side of it, I respect. But first off, if I would never have to play a Mariah Carey song again, I'd be happy. So what's your first one?
Beyonce, Single Ladies. I am just so
I'm going to take
tired
it
of that.
one step farther. Anything Beyonce. There's nothing from Beyonce that because it's like she's popular. She did an Austin Powers movie. I mean, this girl's got talent, and yet I very seldom have anything that works on the dance floor. You play it and it's like, oh, watch them. They left. Where'd they go?
Yeah. Or they try and do the dance in one of the videos
Yep.
for about 30 seconds, and then they give up.
And then 3 drunk guys from the bar come out onto the dance floor, and ironically, they do it really well.
Yeah.
But that's another. So yes, my second one, if I didn't have to play a Beyonce request, I would be happy.
I agree. What's your third?
Third, during this time, Usher had like 7 songs that hit number 1. If I could never play an Usher song beyond Yeah, I would be good. Because Usher's another one. You're always looking. It's like, hey, let's play this one. This DJ, whatever. No, it never worked. Let's play this one because it never worked. I've tried. I've never had success. If I could never play an Usher song beyond Yeah, I'd be happy.
I would argue that a couple of the ballads from like early, like You Got It Bad, potentially, but I'm with you. I'm with you on that, really. I'm going to go for an artist, although I had a particular song on this one. Chris Brown, Forever was the song I had. But I'm also, if I never had to play a Chris Brown song, new or old, I would be fine with that.
Chris Brown would have been my number 6.
Yeah. Forever just, here in PA, we have, we're close to Scranton with, The Office and stuff like that. So there was a lot of, we have to come into Forever because that's what they did, and that was the viral, and it was like, really, like, have you listened to it? Like, it just never really has the feel, and then you try and use it on a dance floor, and it's like people don't even know what to do.
Yeah,
So.
not so much. I need to scroll down a chat. I wasn't all the way down. It's like, the chat's not moving. No one's saying anything. No, I wasn't. It wasn't scrolling. It was off the screen and it wouldn't scroll. Okay, continuing my disdain for artists, the next one I'd add is John Mayer.
Oh, okay.
He's gone over to the adult contemporary area. Nothing of his stuff really worked to begin with for what we do. And then he's gone over to that, and it's like, oh my gosh, there are some days that it just so overplayed in that arena, and there's really nothing that works. So it's like, and I have had a couple people, it's like, can you play? We love this stuff. Can you do it during the dinner time and such? It's like, God, he's almost this whiny, this nasally whiny thing going on, and always singing. Yeah. So John Mayer makes my list.
Kanye West makes mine. Specifically, I had on here Gold Digger. But if I didn't have Kanye West to play, it would be okay.
Kanye would have been about probably 7 or 8 on the list. And if it wouldn't be for Jamie Foxx, Gold Digger, and then you'd be like right up there on the top. But
Yeah.
there's just that
Jamie does receive it, or redeem it a little bit.
It does help. It pulls it from the jaws of complete annihilation. So my last one is during the time when Christina Aguilera came out and was doing things. I was okay, but it's like I've gotten to a point where I've just gotten really kind of similar, probably to Mariah Carey. That type of singing the voice and the over embellished vocals, for lack of a better way to describe it, it just isn't doing it for me. So I really don't care for any of Christina Aguilera's tunes anymore. So she made my top 5.
Okay. I've got 2 that kind of go in the same category. Since you're taking artists, I'm going to allow myself to get this extra one.
Please.
Because they're both line dances, both from the 2000s. Cha-Cha Slide and Cupid Shuffle.
I was one. The Cupid Shuffle was one that I was kind of contemplating, but the one of all the dances was Soulja Boy.
Yeah.
Soulja Boy would be one like, oh my goodness gracious, no.
And that one has come back with a resurgence of Nobody's Business. Like I didn't play that for the longest time, and now out of nowhere, I'm even starting to get requests for it at weddings.
Yes. Yep.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like, why? No, do you know what most of this means? It isn't somebody playing with their little action figures and saying, "Woo!" No, it's not that. No, that's no. That's not what it is. No. It's about making birthday cakes that resemble your favorite cartoon characters. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
And we know birthday cakes are fattening.
They are.
Okay.
How dare they?
Yeah. So there's some artists and songs that if we didn't have to play anymore, and people are throwing in the chat room different songs from these artists on Facebook and on YouTube. What about this song? Hey, this is a song. This song's good. No. Okay.
We are the end all of music people. So this is the one, and what I found was, like, when you and I started talking about this, and you kind of, as we get into the hit section, you alluded to the fact that you feel like there wasn't a lot in the earlier parts of 2000 or within this genre of staying power. And yet this was the one, as I'm scrolling through, I've got a list of probably 15, 20 different songs here. I wanted to have some extras because I figured you and I were going to hit some of the same ones. Some that are like here, and I have some that are here. I have very few that I would just be like, really? There's nothing you would take from that? Yeah, maybe you just don't like it.
Not so much. And there's some that I, as I was moving songs back and forth, there's a few of them that you had on there that it's like, oh yeah, I probably didn't go look in the right folder for a few of these, that they would have been in a different folder, but that's okay. One of them that didn't chart, that has made kind of a comeback, and we've talked about this on other shows, is Fergalicious, and I think that came out in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6. Fergalicious came back a couple of years ago, and I was starting to get requests for it. And last summer, it was a staple at weddings and high school dances. This past year, it was there pretty much the whole season. So that was one.
I'm gonna go heavy hitter.
Yep.
Flow Rida, low. Still gets everybody from grandma to the youngins. I mean, it's, and everybody in between. It's just one of those that, the beginning, nobody older wanted it, but now it's been around long enough, and I've had like floors that are kind of like mediocre, and somebody requests, I'm like, sure, well, let's throw it on, and all of a sudden, like, people come out of the woodworks, and it's like, really? Okay.
And the interesting thing about that is it's still referred to when people come up and they're like, hey, can you play that Apple Bottom Jeans song?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's been out for like 47 years. Can't you get the title right?
Or they ask for Get Low, and then you go, Little John or Flow Rida?
The one where they're singing about their jeans and they're doing this, the low. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that helps.
So the next song you had was Little John's "Get Low."
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely on there. It is one that's still, now I don't pull this one out as much. I found that some of its impact, some of its popularity is starting to wane pretty good. It just doesn't seem to be there like it was for a while. But it's still there. It's still definitely one of the populars from that era, especially.
Yeah, I like to try to play that one nice and early when the grandparents are there and the and the whole family, maybe even some of the people from church are still there. There's nothing more fun than when they're singing about the windows to the walls, and you get the whole group singing. Everybody sing now with me. It's such a great interactive moment.
What are you talking about?
Oh.
I've got the one they play on the radio. There's nothing offensive in that spot.
Get low. Oh, you're playing clean versions. Well, what fun is that? So another song that's been making a comeback the last couple of years, which is this particular track was on most of the weddings that were requested for this summer as a request, which was somewhat surprising. But then again, it's been I've had it here or there, is Nelly's Hot in Here. Mm-hmm. And it's like that was just, it was there and then it went away. And then I was getting some, in essence, I'm going to call it, we're getting some sniffs from it a little bit last summer. But this summer, I think it was on virtually every song requesting. And I couldn't tell you why. I don't know if it was in a movie or if it's just a coincidence.
I think it's somewhat of a coincidence. What I've noticed, it has good reaction, but I still don't get quite the reaction that I would have expected from that Nelly song. Since we're there, I'll go ahead and go with mine. Ride With Me. Mm-hmm. I get a little bit more reaction out of that than I do out of Hot in Here.
So the thing with that is because they're talking about smoking marijuana in that one, that I've had people who are like, "You're playing that song that has that in there. You shouldn't be playing that song." I've actually had that with that song on a few occasions, not at a school, but when I played it at weddings, and it's like, well, goodness, if we really dug into it, I'm sure we could find a Jim Stafford song where they were singing about the the wildwood weeds that were growing on a farm. What was that song? Oh, somebody in the chat will remember it, but where he's singing about that, and the revenuers came out and they burned and they cut and they cut and they burned, and then when they were leaving, then he waved and they were sitting on his big bag of seed. What was that? I think it was Jim Stafford. Anyway, somebody in the chat room will remember that. But so it's not like that we haven't had songs about marijuana and
Puff the Magic Dragon. Come on.
Yeah, that was more than just that. That was more than marijuana. And then we can bounce back to Brad Paisley's Alcohol, where we're talking.
So, there you go. It's all come.
We've got it. Yeah, it comes all
sex,
there.
drugs, rock and roll. We're good.
Yeah, it's all there. Okay, so what do you got next?
Justin Timberlake. Since we talked about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yep.
Sexy Back.
Yes, I had that.
Still another good popular one. Still seems to get a good response.
So with Sexy Back now, is that one of them you would play out, or was that one of them you'd play and give them a sample and then get out of it?
I like to get out of most everything. I'm using short edits or I'm mixing out early. I'm rarely playing the whole song anymore. With the exception of a couple, like Flow Ride Low, I let play out a little bit because they do respond to it well. Sexy Back is one of those, they kind of, I think it's like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Like they get a little weary of it.
I think that's what I've been trying to find something to when I played it, because it's like you start into it and then it's like, oh man, I got to have something better planned to get out of this, because it gets that. Yeah, the wildwood weed. Thanks, Don and Howie shared that. I thought that's what it was called. So yeah, Sexy Back. I had that one. So jumping earlier or higher on my list. Outkast had Hey Yeah that came out at that time, and that's still one that gets requested. Not as much today as it probably did 5 years ago, but it still makes a presence.
Most of mine, I will say, actually don't show up so much on the request portion of it as they do on the response portion.
I get you. Mm-hmm.
Like that's a good one. Like again, you get into, but again, I feel like after a little bit, they it's kind of like, how many times can we shake the Polaroid picture before they're like,
seriously? Have you ever taken a Polaroid picture? know how much shaking you have to do to get that sucker to develop properly?
No, John, because I'm not 80. Okay.
Faster. Shake that. You didn't shake it enough. It's not right. You ruined it. $3 of Polaroid film was gone. Okay. Next.
Are you good?
I am. I'm better now.
Okay, good. Let's go to almost near the top of the list. Usher, yeah.
Yep, that's definitely a big one.
That it's interesting to how much staying power that one has had. That's probably, if I were to list all my songs from that decade of dance music, that's got to be my number one, because it still is working great. One of the things we talked about was like, what would you follow that up with? A lot of times when I have Usher, yeah, I will follow it up with Little John Get Low.
Mm-hmm.
The feel, it's that ATL sound, and they go really, really well together.
I prefer to follow it up with Don Ho singing Tiny Bubbles, but
that works too.
That's me. It's a real smooth transition, and then
and Mega say it would be.
It's beautiful. It does. It brings tears to the eyes. I'm just gonna say it. Tears to the eyes. So one song that I've always really liked, and I've never gotten exactly enough response, or the response to the level, or we did at one time and doesn't, but yet people know the song, is Pink's "Get the Party Started." It was an upbeat, it was a moving song, and it was a kind of a catchy little thing. And it's really, this is where yeah can go anywhere. Low can go anywhere. That tune from Pink, you get that crowd, you can hit it, and it's going to be one of the biggest hits of the night. This a little bit different crowd, and it's going to be a big flop. There's like no middle ground with that particular tune, and I don't know why. I don't know if she like said somebody or kicked somebody's puppy or tipped somebody's grandma over at that time and offended people. I thought it was a good tune. So
I think because what she's come out with since hasn't really had the same type of feel. Like they weren't really party songs. They weren't really party dancing songs. And so when you think of Pink, you might not associate her with that idea. Whereas Usher, he was in some other club type hits, and so it kind of went together. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here.
It's possible.
I did not have that one on my list, because that's one because of the potential flop factor, I've kind of avoided for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of club, though, we gotta hit it there. 50 Cent into club. That's another one. And I recommend getting out of that one.
Yep.
Not playing the whole way through. First off, definitely don't play it the whole way through, because you get the 40 seconds of nothing but a beat at the end. But even getting out earlier than that, it's one of those. It's kind of has that peak, and they're like, yeah, and then they're kind of like, okay, next song. We have the next song already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely get that. And there's so many different versions and mashups in the club that a person can find something that plays that verse, that chorus, verse, chorus, and then off into something else.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of following along, similar to the Pink thing, except opposite, where Pink had the song that I felt was a great dance song, and then she's had a lot of angry, stressful type music the rest of her career. Miley Cyrus, "Party in the USA" came out in the late 2000s, and that one still does really, really well today, even though she's come out with a lot of things afterwards that have been kind of I don't want to say a flop, but just not very successful for what we do. And people have been like, they could take it or leave it. Where some of Pink's music, as she's come out and she's moved into more of the adult contemporary arena, she's become a big star in certain circles with her more modern music. So it's an interesting dichotomy how almost the better, the more dancey the two songs is less appreciated or followed. But "Party in the USA" is not quite as good as "Yeah" by any means, but it's much closer to that than it is. It can go because people still know it.
I think it also helps. It was from the Hannah Montana time. It was when everybody loved her. Everything was okay. She wasn't doing the risque stuff, and so you have that. Plus being tied to her and being tied to that character, You had that carryover because you have the genre, or you have the age of people who are watching her on that show.
Yeah.
So it was an easy transition to stay that I still liked it because I liked Hannah Montana technically when I was back then. You know, like that's the mentality some of them have. To why I think that one has maybe stuck around easier.
Yeah, very possible.
Let's go. Where am I at here on my list? Because I'm scratching things off as you keep naming them. I know it's on my list of I hope I never have to play it again, but it's also on my list of it's a big one, and I'm gonna go twofold here, and we're getting both of our line dances with Cha Cha Slide and Keep It Shuffle.
Yeah,
still get a ton of requests for them, still do very well with it. But yeah, they're definitely in there.
Let's see. One of the songs, I think it was the mid 2000s. So when Sierra came out with 1-2 Step, and that's one that is, you know, now don't play the whole song anymore. It used to be at one time you could play most of it, and then kind of towards the last 30 seconds or what have you, mix out of it. It's become shortening it up, the particular track, but it's you know, people are like, oh yeah, I remember it. It's that throwback song that people remember, and it has enough of a beat to it that it's like, that's pretty cool. So
I've been seeing it showing up on school dances lately too.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I've not had it at a school dance, but I have had it at some weddings last year. But that puts you back where those 30, you know, the 28 to 30 old couples or their friends that are a little bit older were junior hires at that time.
Mm-hmm. Got a Feeling. Mm-hmm. Black Eyed Peas. Now I would say this one has started to really wane fast. Like it has good staying power for a long time, you know, well past when it's been out and everything else. But I would say within the last couple of years, it's kind of started to have more of a dip, like kind of what you talked with the Pink. It's either going to go over great or it's going to go over flop. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of in between with this one anymore. But if you have the right crowd, you know, it's a good opportunity to put it in. And
I think it's one that a person should really have the plan to mix in and mix out of it fairly quickly because of the flop potential. Mm-hmm. Definitely on that one. So early in the decade, NSYNC was starting to wrap up their careers to a point. Sometime in there when they made that transition. But Bye 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 came out early in the 2000s, and that has become a kind of a throwback request. You know, hey, can you do that? Because they in high school, junior high, they did their little dance to the thing. We had that. I had a couple of them last summer where they requested specifically that song or It's Gonna Be Me, and they had a dance that went along to it, and they did the dance, and the crowd was ooh, yeah, it's so much fun, and then fade out of the song after they stopped doing their dance thing. But it was something to be aware of that. People of that at that time in that junior high and high school era, they were doing the same dances some of these boy bands were doing up on stage. So
it was TikTok without the recordings.
There wasn't any recording.
So what I have left on my list, I take it back. There's two more that I've got. Both were early 2000s, which I found it funny that we didn't talk about any of the other JT stuff since you mentioned NSYNC. But Christina Aguilera, Dirty, still another one that gets a great reaction, and I think just because of that age there. And then Missy Elliott, Work It.
I saw Missy Elliott. I was thinking about that, and it's like, God, I played that for a while, but it just hasn't had for me. It hasn't had the staying power. That could be more of a regional thing. Lady Gaga's Just Dance, when she was making waves, and she was did the movie a couple of years ago. That song for some reason made a comeback for us. That people were looking back to try to find something that they liked of her other stuff, and there's a couple of options, and Just Dance I think became the one that we could do at schools or the school teachers were asking for, maybe because of their age, what have you. But that was pretty much wrapping up the main ones that I had there also.
I've got a couple here. I'm just going to rattle off that are my kind of like what I would call maybe hidden gems. Mm-hmm. All right, good ones that are going to get a good reaction, but you're probably not going to be showing up on many request lists. And specifically looking at weddings, Jagged Edge, Let's Get Married, Khalees, Milkshake, Britney Spears' Toxic. For whatever reason, that one keeps showing up on radio play.
It does, yeah.
And so as a result, that one is the one that I get, like if I'm going to get a request for hers, that's the one I think, and I'm blaming the radios for that. Daft Punk, One More Time, Chingy right there, Jaquan Tipsy, and Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy. If you're looking for one that's more of like a sing-along style, that one has kind of come along almost to replace some of the Blink-182s that were popular within the past couple of years.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Skater Boy, it only peaked at like, or for the year, I should say, I think for that year it was like 96 or something. So it barely made the Hot 100 for the year. And I remember what it was, 7 or 8 or whatever it was. But high school, so that was, I had a request for that at junior highs last year, last fall, junior highs and the homecomings. That was one of them that the kids were like, can you play that? So yeah, it definitely has that time or that appeal. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, so
good stuff.
So that was our kind of a rundown of songs. Now we've got a couple minutes left, and I wanted to, in the description of tonight's video, whether you're watching it on YouTube or on Facebook, there's 2 links down there. We are going to be semi-officially announcing 2 activities or 2 events we're going to be doing this fall. The first one's going to be happening September, I believe it's September 13th and 14th. Dan, those nights we're not doing shows, by the way.
Oh, good to know now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So let me just pop. I'll get there. I want to make sure. No, it's September 14th and 15th. We are doing 2 nights. This is going to be our DJN TV DJ Talks night, where we're going to have DJs doing little 10-minute talks. I don't want to call it TED Talks because that would be, copyright violation. So they're going to be DJN TV DJ Talks, and we're going to be doing 2 nights of that on the 14th and 15th. If you're interested in doing it, you just do a little 10-minute video, hitting your topic and sharing that, and we're going to have it's basically going to be a prize type event. All the people who do a video, they're going to be in a drawing for giving away 2 $500 shopping sprees at one of our dealers, and
Nice.
then for all of who are watching, each night we're going to give away 4 $100 shopping sprees at one of our dealers. And then there's also going to be some special discounts from said dealer for that night, those nights of the show. So that's happening in September. And you can go to DJN TV. Let's see, that one would be, it's in a description. Did I put
that would be djntv.com/DJNTV
DJ Talks.
DJ Talks 2020.
2020. So that's going to be in September. Then we're coming back in October, on October 12th and 13th. We're going to be coming back and doing a DJN TV Virtual Expo. And this is going to be 2 nights of actual seminars put on by the people who have done seminars at different conventions and such. They're going to be coming together for 2 nights of training. So you'll have that. There's going to be more prizes given away during that time frame of the show. We're actually going to have the little exhibit hall type of a thing. We did a couple of things where we tried that last time to work that out. We're going to do more of that. And what's neat about it is that the manufacturers who couldn't offer discounts at DJ Expo, and they couldn't offer, now they're going to be part of our show in October. So there'll be more information. That one's out at djntv.com/virtual expo 2020. So those, we'll be sharing more information about those as we go along, but just put those on your calendar. The second week of September, actually the second Monday night of September and the second Monday night of October is when we'll be doing those.
Very cool. I'm excited, especially I like I feel like I've gotten cheated this year. There's every expo that I've wanted to go to or follow up with or be a part of has gone out the window, of course, for good reasoning. And yet I've been looking for something good. So this comes at a good time.
I think so. That's one, and we've rarely wanted to. We were talking about doing something in the summer, and it's like, okay, so we got into the summer, and there was this whole chaos. It's like, will we be back in the fall? Will we not? What's going on? We don't know. And it's like, now we have a pretty good idea that we're not going to be back in the fall. So now it's time for, we have now an idea that, okay, now we're going to be getting ourselves ready for 2021. And that's really what we can do, is we can go and kind of start setting the table in September and in October and beyond to get ourselves ready for a 2021 when when we will be able to start getting back into doing the things that we do. So looking forward to it, and it should be a good event. We're getting some people, the speakers and things lined up for that. So pretty excited that this is how this is all going to come together for us.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
Yay.
But I think that's about it. So let's wrap her up and I'll be back here with Brian and Jay in just a few minutes.
Well, there you go. So that he took care of it. You got a great show coming up here in just a few minutes. Go get a drink, go to the bathroom, get back here. You got 10 minutes to do so. A great show with Brian Red and Jay Brennan and of course John Young. Thank you very much for being a part of it this evening. Have yourself a good night.
All right, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.